Starting off my list, I have Manny Machado. Let's be honest here, the entire Padres lineup is still working on getting themselves together, but Manny Machado, this guy had a really good season last year. He's off to a really tough start through 22 games, only hitting .221, a .253 on base, a .291 slugging. Now, if we go take a look at some deeper numbers here, we can see that his outside swing percentage has actually gone up a smidge. It's actually the highest that it's been in his career. So he's definitely chasing more pitches. He's always been a guy that's had a bit of a higher chase rate, but it's gone down even further than last year. Last year, he was in the 38th percentile, but now it's gone down even further. So I think he's kind of pressing a little bit more at the plate, and it's causing just all of his other numbers to drop. I do think he's going to get himself together, but, you know, considering the year that he had last year, all of the expectations with the Padres, and sure, I know they got a whole bunch of other guys in this lineup, but Machado is definitely a centerpiece. I would like for him to get going a little bit here. Up next, I have Miles Mikolas. Mikolas is getting absolutely rocked right now. 4 starts, 20 innings, an ERA of 8.10. Now, the FIP is a little better at 4.94, but that's still really high. Miles Mikolas, he's got to get himself together. If we go take a look, last year, the sinker was his best pitch. If we take a look at the run value of it, it was -8. Hitters were only hitting .211 against his sinker, while this year, hitters are hitting .400 against it. So that's telling me these hitters are seeing the sinker a lot more, and that is a very valuable pitch for him because this is a guy that's always relied more on getting the ground balls. If we take a look at the ground ball percentage last year, it was at 45%, and right now it's only at 33.3%. Miles Mikolas, I do think he will get himself together. This is a guy who's always been just a solid guy to have in your rotation, but right now, it's looking a little scary for him. Coming up next, I have LYNN. Here's another guy who's been getting rocked for the White Sox. 4 starts, 21 1/3 innings pitched, a 7.59 ERA. That FIP is almost at a 6. My goodness, LYNN, always been one of my favorite pitchers in the game, but right now, he's not looking very good if you ask me. If we go take a look here at the percentile rankings, the big thing that jumps off the page for me are his walks. If you go take a look last year, he was in the top 2% when it came to walks, and now this year, I mean, he's in the bottom half of the league. So it looks like he's dealing with some command right now, or some command issues right now. His velocity is down a smidge compared to last year. I do think he will get himself together. This guy's a gamer, but right now, I mean, just seeing these kind of numbers, you know, for LYNN, it's a bit surprising if you ask me. Up next, I have Tyler Anderson signing himself a decent deal with the Angels in the offseason, a 3-year, $39 million deal, and he is not living up to it right now. With the Dodgers last year, he was absolutely fantastic. They figured something out with him, and the hope was he would be able to translate that to the Angels, but it is not working out so far. 3 starts, an ERA of 6.75, and the FIP is way higher at an 8.25. So what's the difference with Tyler Anderson? Well, if we go take a look last year, he was getting guys to chase a lot more. He was in the top 5% in chase rate last year, even despite not having a whole lot of velocity. Now, if you take a look now, it's down in the bottom half of the league. I mean, my goodness. He's still getting some weak contact, so that to me is a good sign. But the fact that this guy is just, the chase rate is just so down, that does worry me a little bit for the long-term success. Now, if we go take a look at some deeper numbers here, now the outside swing percentage, it goes hand in hand with the chase rate. It was at 39.1% last year, and now it's at a 27.9. Hitters also were swinging and missing at an 11.8% rate, and now that's down to 9.5. So Tyler Anderson, it looks like something is going on with just his pitch mix and how his pitches are looking, but right now, he is not living up to that contract. Coming up next, I have Jose Abreu. The biggest addition for the Astros in the offseason is not off to a great start. Signed a 3-year, $58.5 million deal in the offseason, and right now he's not living up to it. 20 games, hitting .253. That's not terrible by any means, but only an on-base of .295 and only a slugging of .289, the WRC plus at 64. Now, Jose Abreu has always been more of a slow starter. If we go take a look at his numbers in the month of April, only a .256 lifetime hitter in the first month, a .325 on base, a .453 slugging. But the numbers that he has now aren't even really close to this, especially the slugging. The batting average is right around the same, but the on base, the slugging are way down compared to his usual numbers. Now, if we take a look at StatCast, he has some numbers. Well, he has a lot of numbers that have dropped, but the ones that I'm seeing is that his chase rate wasn't amazing last year. He was kind of right around the middle of the league in the 45th percentile. But if we take a look this year, he's in the 18th percentile. So he's chasing a little bit more. Sounds like he's pressing a little bit more, if you ask me. So Jose Abreu, again, has been a slow starter in his career, but it would be nice if he can pick it up for the Astros, who are going through a bit of a World Series hangover right now. Up next, I have Corey Kluber, and I am not enjoying this one at all. Corey Kluber off to a rough start in his Red Sox career. He was the opening day guy for the Red Sox this year. 4 starts, 18 innings, an ERA of 8.5, a FIP of 7.45. My goodness. But Corey Kluber last year relied very heavily on weak contact. If you take a look at the average exit velocity, he was in the top 20% last year, but now he's in the bottom half of the league. And one thing I want to point out with Corey Kluber is just how he's been using his cutter so far this year. Last year, he used his cutter 34.2% of the time, and that has dropped about 5% to 29.4%. You know, sure, hitters were hitting 302 against the cutter last year, but Corey Kluber was a guy that definitely pitched more to contact. He pitches more to contact now. And while, you know, despite hitters only hitting 200 against it, right now they're doing damage against it. As you can see, a 480 slugging against the cutter so far. So to me, I think Kluber, he's really got to lean into this cutter because the sinker right now is just absolutely abysmal. If you take a look, hitters right now against his sinker are hitting 389 with a 778 slugging. So I think he's got to start getting away from the sinker a little bit, even more so, and just kind of lean back more into the cutter a little bit. I don't know, but Corey Kluber, he's not getting the weak contact that he was getting last year. He's leaving a lot of stuff over the plate right now. He's a veteran guy. I'm going to count on the fact that he'll be able to turn this around, but it's a little scary at the moment. Up next, I have Josh Bell. Signed himself a rather nice deal with the Guardians in the offseason, a 2-year, $33 million deal. But right now, the numbers aren't looking too good through 18 games. Hitting 191, a 75 WRC plus, on base of 300. Josh Bell can definitely do better than this. Now, if we're taking a look at StatCast, the one thing I'm noticing here is the whiff percentage and the chase rate. If we take a look at last year, he was in the 66th percentile when it came to whiffs, and he was in the 73rd percentile when it came to chase rate. And now, if you take a look here, they have both dropped. But there are still some good signs. The average exit velocity is still looking okay, and the walks are still looking pretty good here. But he's swinging and missing more. He's striking out more. That tells me he's being a bit aggressive. He's pressing at the plate a little bit. I do think he'll turn it around. I think he'll get back on track. But, you know, considering this was a big signing for the Guardians, it's a little disappointing if you ask me. Coming in next, I have Jean Segura. Man, this guy is having a tough start to the year. Through 17 games, only hitting 186, a 226 on base, a slugging of 186. He has a WRC plus of 17. His Fangraph WAR right now is at negative 0.6. My goodness, Jean Segura, we got to get this turned around. Now, if we take a look at StatCast, we are seeing some reds here. Not too bad. But if we're taking a look at last year, there's definitely some differences. First off, the defense, now he is playing third base this year. It looks like he's still adjusting over there, but overall it's not going too well right now because last year he was in the top 16% when it came to outs above average. And if we look this year, he's in the 14th percentile. That is just completely dropped off. If we go take a look at some other numbers last year, his strikeouts, he's always been a guy that doesn't strike out a whole ton. He doesn't walk a whole ton either. But last year he was in the 88th percentile. Now this year he's in the 67th. Still not a bad spot, but it has dropped from last year. And if we take a look at the chase rate, he has always been a guy that likes to chase. Right now he is in the 2nd percentile. It wasn't really a lot better last year. He was in the 16th percentile, but the fact that he's chasing even more than he was last year, that's pretty crazy if you ask me. The whiff percentage, last year he was in the 86th percentile. That's dropped down to the 74th. So this guy's definitely pressing a little bit. I'm wondering if maybe, you know, playing third base more often now is kind of maybe affecting him a little bit. It's kind of getting into his head, especially at the plate. But Jean Segura, this is a guy, the Marlins are playing some decent baseball this year. If he can get himself back together, this lineup will be that much better. but I got to be honest, it's a little disappointing considering this guy was just playing in the World Series last year. Up next, I have Javier BAEZ. Let's be honest here. This contract has been just completely disappointing. He's on a 6-year, $140 million deal. He can opt out after this year, but I don't see why he would opt out at this point. My goodness, he is off to a terrible start again this year. 18 games, only hitting 200, a 254 on base, a 246 slugging. My goodness. Now, we have seen some improvements. If you take a look at some of the percentiles from last year, mainly the strikeout percentage and the walk percentage, they have gone up this year. 26%, the 26th percentile for strikeouts, 8th percentile for walks. This year, it's up to 70 and 35 respectively. So he is showing an improvement there. He's being a little bit more patient at the plate, but his max exit velocity is not ranking as well as he did last year. 67th percentile this year compared to the 82nd percentile last year. I don't know. He's just not seeing the results. But another thing with Javier BAEZ, got benched in Toronto this year after forgetting how many outs there were. You know, for a guy that's getting paid this much money, I understand he's struggling right now. So, you know, for having a mental lapse like this, I guess I can understand it. But when you're getting paid this much money, you know, I think we need to be performing a little bit more here. And just the fact that this guy needed to get off to a good start this year, and he's just not doing it. Let's see if he can get it turned around. But I'm just very disappointed in Javier BAEZ so far. And last but not least, I have ALEK MANOAH. This Blue Jays rotation coming into the year was supposed to look really good. And, you know, they're doing all right so far this year. But ALEK MANOAH, he needs to start pulling his weight a little bit more. 4 starts, 19 1/3 innings pitched, a 6.98 ERA, FIP a smidge higher at a 7.01. If we take a look at the game log so far, he's gotten roughed up in a couple of starts. The first start against St. Louis, he got roughed up, 5 earned, 3 1/3 innings pitched. And his last start against the Rays, he got hit hard. 4 2/3 innings pitched, a 7 earned runs, 4 walks. You know, he has just been having a rough time, especially with the walks. If we take a look here, right now, he's only in the 10th percentile when it came to walks. If we take a look last year, he was in the 70th percentile. He's just having a lot of trouble with his command right now. A lot of reds last year, and now we're just seeing a ton of blues. I think ALEK MANOAH will get himself back on track, but you know, it's just kind of funny when you see, you know, Anthony Recker, you know, with the comments that he made in the offseason about ALEK MANOAH being, you know, not being in shape enough, and ALEK MANOAH kind of, you know, took notice of that, kind of went and clapped back at Anthony Recker. I don't know, it's just not looking too good, you know, for him right now, you know, over that whole thing. I mean, whatever, it is what it is, but I don't know. He's just off to a tough start this year. I mean, luckily, you know, the Blue Jays are doing okay right now. Other guys in the rotation are stepping up like Kikuchi, but ALEK MANOAH, this is, in my opinion, disappointing. Sure, you know, you're going to go through your struggles as a younger pitcher. You're going to have your bumps. I mean, this is his, you know, basically second full season in the major leagues. So he's going to have his hiccups along the way. That's just going to happen. But the fact that I'm seeing the strikeouts down, the walks are just way up, giving up more home runs so far this year. More balls are falling into play. I don't know. ALEK MANOAH, I'm personally just a little disappointed in him. I was hoping for a better start. I do think he will get it turned around, though. We'll just have to wait and see. But that's all I have for right now, everyone. Let me know what you think down below in the comments. Am I missing any players here? Do you think some of these players should not be on this list? Let me know in the comments. But that's all I have for right now, everyone. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you next time.